How's it going, guys? My name's Graham and welcome to Two Left Thumbs. This is my review of the Jackbox Party Pack 3, a series of games that we absolutely love playing both in our spare time and quite frequently over on the Let's Play channel. I'll have a link to a playlist of us playing that both in the description of this video and the end cards. These games are released yearly in mid-October every year. I started reviewing them with the 4th and have also done the 5th and 6th at this point. I've had a few people suggest that I go back to the beginning, so I'm starting to work backwards and reviewing the first 3 packs. So I'm kind of doing it with the hindsight of where the series is now. That might be important contextual information. For people who are relatively unfamiliar with the Jackbox Party Packs, they're available on almost every conceivable platform. Desktops, mobile devices, Rokus, consoles, you name it, you probably have some means of playing it. The entire point is that you have the standalone game that you're playing on your specific device, and then everyone in the room can log in with their own phones or other mobile devices, join in on a room through a web browser, and you get to play the game together using your device as the controller. If you've never played any of them, I highly suggest it. It is great to have at a party. Everyone always has a blast. Or I would go searching for it over on Twitch. It's a very popular series to be streamed, and then you can join in on other people's live broadcast games. You get to participate, which is fun. Speaking of streaming, I believe the Party Pack 3 was about the first one to actually implement that properly. The Jackbox team just realized that people were consistently streaming Jackbox 1 and 2, so in this game they added a few more streamer-friendly features. But obviously it doesn't have as streamer-friendly of features as the newer installments of the game. This was just kind of the introduction of that concept. I'll give quick summaries of the 5 different games and my overall impressions on this particular pack at the end. First up, we have Quiplash 2, made for 3 to 8 players. In between the Jackbox Party Pack 1 and 2, they released the standalone Quiplash. The original Quiplash was insanely popular, very fun. You can still buy it independently for $11. Maybe you would consider it if you feel like you've played out Quiplash 2, you've done a few too many rounds, you've seen a lot of the prompts before. It was eventually integrated as Quiplash XL into the Party Pack 2, and so at that point there's no real reason to buy the standalone unless it's the only thing you like about Jackbox. The general premise here is that the very hilarious, comical hosts of the game give you a particular prompt. 2 people in the room will receive the same prompt. Their 2 attempted jokes then go head-to-head, and everyone else playing gets to vote on who they think was the funniest. Winning these head-to-head battles and out-funnying your friends is going to earn you points towards your final tally. Quiplash 2 also added the ability to create your own prompts, so if you ever feel like the game is running stale, you can add your own or look around online for others that players have created. There's no easy, immediate way to pull those into the game. You'll have to manually add them yourselves. It saves you having to brainstorm ideas. Honestly, over the years, Quiplash is one of the ones that we still play the most frequently as a friend group. The prompts are short and silly enough that it gives almost endless room to come up with your own joke to play off of it. Unlike a game like Cards Against Humanity where you're going to see the same things over and over and the shock value is going to wear off, the ball is entirely in your court and it's going to be sink or swim for whoever is most funny. My favorite part is when a silly running joke comes up that stops being funny almost immediately, but eventually becomes funny again because you keep bringing it up. Because of that reliability, to this date it's still one of the best individual games ever in a party pack. Next up, we have Trivia Murder Party, a game that you can technically play by yourself, but up to 8 players. The Party Pack 6 introduced a sequel that improved a few things, but mostly it was just about having new trivia prompts and a few new minigames. In no way does that lessen or demean the experience of playing the original Trivia Murder Party. It is still a fantastic game, and may again overall be one of the best individual Party Pack games. The setting of it is really fun, the framing device of you guys participating in like a slasher horror flick. Once a game ends, you can choose to play a sequel, and all the players are added back in as being the seconds of their various name choices. The very creepy voiced killer host is giving you different trivia questions. Whoever gets it wrong that round risks dying. Deaths are determined through quick little mini games. Maybe one player is chosen to roll the die. Everyone else has to roll the die lower than them, or else they're out. Or perhaps everyone is given a boggle-like series of letters, and the death row players have to try to come up with a longer word using as many letters as possible as any of the living players. If they succeed, you get to stick around, lose, and you're dead. One of the funniest ones is the row of poisonous cups where the living players get to choose which cups to poison, and then the at-risk players have to then choose which one to drink, choose wrong, and you're dead. Sometimes the game even does fun things where you're not actually risking dying, but instead you have to, quote, lose a finger. If, say, you cut off your first finger, it means you can never answer trivia option A ever again. If you cut off the second finger, it's B, and so on. So basically, whenever a new trivia question comes up where that is the answer, you're out of luck and you're gonna risk dying. It's absurd, it's over the top, the mini games are wonderful. I honestly wish that more Jackbox games had this layered mini game style gameplay. That's just wonderful top to bottom. And then the end round of the game, as long as at least one player survives till that point, you can actually all die early and all lose. Then you play more of a speed round. You're given a topic or category and a small list of things that may or may not apply. The one living player is only given 2, whereas the dead players are given 3 to give them the opportunity to catch up. For every correct selection or lack of selection you make, you advance across the board, trying to be the first one to reach the door. If a dead player ever overtakes the living player, they swap, becoming living themselves. You can only exit the door if you're living. It's fun, it's frantic, it really challenges your trivia knowledge. I will say that after having played this like a dozen separate times, if not more, you do start to see a few of the same prompts over and over, but that's true of any trivia game. You're eventually going to run out of unique options. I guess good on you if you can memorize the answers. If somehow you max out the potential of this, then you can always pick up the Jackbox 6 and play the sequel with all new trivia and same great gameplay. So yes, the Jackbox 3 starts out incredibly strong. Quiplash 2, Trivia Murder Party, 2 of the greats. Now things get a little rockier. Guesspionage, made for 2 to 8 players. It has this really fun spy theme. I like the art of it. The different character choices are very silly. Everyone always fights to see who can be the dolphin. One player at a time is given a unique prompt. These are based on surveys that were given, and you then have to predict the percentage of people you think would have given a particular response to that question. Everyone waiting in the wings then gets to decide whether or not they think that given percentage is too high or too low. The closer the guesser is to the actual result earns some additional points, and whoever guessed correctly if they were too high or too low also can earn points. You may also double down by saying that you think that they're way too high or way too low. It's kind of a double or nothing scenario, and I think something that's really important to the overall game. But if you're playing with too few players, then I believe you only do 1 round instead of 2, and this option never comes up, which is super disappointing because it takes away a large part of what makes the game interesting. And then at the final round, you're given a pool of different options that you then have to assign ranks, trying to get closest to the collective ranking that has been given. I think it's a great cap to the rest of what Guesspionage has to offer. It follows the same theme but is done in a slightly different way. Sometimes Jackbox games struggle to have a satisfying final round. I really enjoy this one. I think overall I love the premise of Guesspionage. I think it's fantastic. But you will go absolutely bonkers trying to figure out why people picked certain things. Honestly, I don't know who the hell they surveyed for this game, but frequently the entire room would be incorrect about a certain response. Like maybe they only focused on a really narrow demographic of age or location, but it really didn't match our expectations very well. So while I do love this game, it can be frustrating just as often as it's enjoyable. I really do hope someday they make a Guesspionage 2 where they improve some of these minor issues, maybe making it so that players are actively contributing to that larger survey. Now, rather than it being the 100 people that they polled for the sake of making this game, it's now the entirety of everyone who's ever played this game. I think that could be really great. On a given games night, it's fun to play maybe once, but you're not going to commit a ton of time to Guesspionage, and you're not going to play it repeatedly over and over. Next up, we have Tee K.O, a game that has been a bit of a meme for years now of just being like one of the weirdest Jackbox games. Made for 3 to 8 players, it is the drawing game of this particular party pack. Every pack makes an effort to have at least one drawing-based game. They're usually a lot of fun. The limited options of scribbling on your phone, it kind of evens the playing field if you have a few artistes in your group. This is one of the few drawing games in any Jackbox that actually has an undo feature in case something didn't come out quite right. But I mean, your drawings are always going to be pretty rough around the edges in a Jackbox game. It's also one of only a few that allows multiple color options, which is much appreciated. The first section of the game has you drawing as many random small pictures as possible. The second part has you writing as many random slogans as possible. Just random few word prompts of literally anything. Your pictures and words are going to be quite limited. It's not a lot of space, so you gotta get creative. Then, as a designer, you are given a handful of pictures and slogans that you must then pair together to create your ideal perfect t-shirt combo. I've played this game with a lot of people who do not put effort into making anything quite slogan-worthy, and a lot of people who just end up drawing dicks. This game doesn't particularly encourage you to be very funny the way that something like Quiplash does, where you have to meticulously craft your perfect response. Here, it's more about assembling the pieces that other people submitted, and so if people really phone it in for their contributions, then you're just left with a bunch of unfunny funny nothing. I feel like there's a strategy of trying to sandbag everyone by giving bad slogans and pictures, but Jackbox is way more about having laughs than it is about winning, and so this more than the rest, I think you get out of it what you put in. If no one particularly tries, then none of the results are funny, and then it's a pretty unenjoyable experience watching two unfunny designs pitted against one another. One drawback could be that there's a little bit of a novelty to the game. If it's the first time you've seen a particular t-shirt design, it seems to be heavily favored to win, advancing it to the next round where it is now no longer new and exciting. There's not really a way to work against that, and it doesn't become that big of a deal very quickly. The game is okay, and while Quiplash requires people to be funny, everything takes place so rapidly that you're pretty much guaranteed some laughs even when things don't quite hit the mark. Tee K.O is a weird one of the bunch. I know a lot of people who really passionately dislike it, and I think it's just because they've never played with the right people. I honestly think people should give this more of a chance and think more about what would be funny for everyone rather than what would help them win. Probably the most stupid thing about this game, but possibly the best, is that at the end, you can actually order one of the shirts that you design. They'll print it out on the color of your choice and ship it to your door. It honestly doesn't cost that much to do this. It seemed very gimmicky and funny, and I didn't think anyone would have ever actually done it. But a few weeks after a night of playing some drunk Jackbox with some friends, one of the guys actually confusedly Snapchatted me to tell me that he just had a Tee K.O shirt arrive at his door. In the moment, he thought it was hilarious, and when it arrived, he didn't remember it at all. Neither did any of us really, and that was just incredible in its own right. I tried so hard to find the picture, but I think it was a Snapchat, so it's not actually saved anywhere, which is so disappointing. The last one in the pack, Fakin It, made for 3 to 6 players. I do want to immediately warn people you basically cannot stream this one. It absolutely requires seeing each other face to face. We did a video on this one where we didn't have a face cam of any kind, and we tried to narrate what was happening in the room, who had their hands raised, things like that, and it just didn't really translate. It's a very heavily thumbs down video. This is a concept that was really expanded upon with Push the Button in Jackbox 6, but as a standalone, it is still quite enjoyable as long as you have people willing to participate and you can play it in a room with people. You're going to be given various different options, ones that require you to either raise your hand, make a specific face, nod or shake your head, hold up a certain number of fingers. But one person in the room is going to see a slightly different prompt than everyone else. They then have to come up with some ridiculous reason for why they have that number of fingers held up. One of my favorite examples was something along the lines of everyone in the room saw how many times have you been caught masturbating, while the faker saw how many times have you got a speeding ticket. So while 4 out of 5 people held up big zeros, he had 3 fingers held up and then had to explain to us the 3 separate fake fictional times that he had been caught masturbating to fool everyone. And he succeeded because it was so absurd that no one thought that he would risk lying about that. It's a good strategy, by the way. Embarrass yourself in a way that people don't think you would be willing to do. Great way to fly under the radar. But another very funny part about this game is that you can only capture the faker if people unanimously agree. So the faker is going to try and mislead people as much as possible, punch holes in other people's answers, and try to split up the group as much as possible. In the final round, everyone is given a couple of questions that they have to write answers to. There's a very fine balance here where the faker's questions are also, same as before, going to be only slightly different than everyone else's. Everyone else may see what is your favorite restaurant, and they will see what is your favorite fast food restaurant. So yes, their answer could be believable, but if 5 people are saying their favorite restaurant is some fancy steakhouse and you're there saying Subway, you can probably convincingly lie your way out of it, even though you're still the odd man out. I would say the game is incredibly fun. I do really enjoy Fakin It. The one drawback is it has the same sort of group appeal as charades. Considering you're really putting yourself out there, you're emoting a lot, you're sharing a lot of personal details, it simultaneously works very well with a group of strangers because you're more able to convincingly lie to them, but at the same time people might be embarrassed putting themselves out there in that way, so I can understand that people aren't always going to enjoy this one. Maybe it doesn't fit your group's dynamic, or you're looking for something a little bit more quiet and isolated, where you're not accusing each other and assaulting each other with questions. So it is very fun, but it has a particular time and place. Overall, Quiplash 2 and Trivia Murder Party, they're like 10 out of 10s for me. They're some of the best. Fakin It may be closer to an 8 out of 10. I really love this game, but I know it's not for everyone, and it's not for every night. Guesspionage, while I personally really enjoy it, I also have been frustrated with it numerous different times. It's riding around like a 6 or 7 out of 10. And Tee K.O, I don't know, I have seen this one go well, but very often it's the least fun one of the night, so maybe closer to a 5 out of 10. Overall, that's giving things in the pack like an average score of 8 out of 10. In my mind, that's huge. That is a great success. I absolutely love Jackbox, have for years, and this is the one that first really introduced me to the series. And to this day, it's probably up there as one of the best. I think because the Jackbox team is trying to innovate and not repeat themselves too often, the newer packs tend to have a few weirder additions, things that might feel a little bit less accessible in your party gaming night. And if that's a concern and you're looking for an appropriate entry point into the series, Jackbox 3 is probably the right choice. I highly recommend it. You're gonna have a great time. When the Jackbox series does have sales, the older games do get more heavily discounted than the newer ones, which means if you keep an eye out for a sale, you can get Jackbox 3 these days for very cheap. You're gonna have so many great nights with it. It's just a riot. I hope I helped you with your decision making in some way, even though the game is like 4 years old. We've played just about every individual Jackbox pack over on the Let's Play channel. I will have a link in the end cards here where you can go check that out if you're interested. I warn you that the playlist starts with Fakin It, and that video was a little bit rocky. I'll also create a proper playlist for the various Jackbox reviews. You can check that out as well. Please note that the other 3 reviews exist on the Let's Play channel. This channel is a little bit newer, and so this is currently the only review on this channel. But if you go with the playlist, then you'll have everything you need in one place. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you again soon. Hopefully I'll be doing packs 1 and 2 quite shortly here.